Nick, thank you for your time today, brother. I'm looking forward to talking all things the curling group and everything you guys are building. But I want to start with your background, man. You know, you spent time in a number of different roles across the sports media and entertainment landscape, throughout your career. What lessons have you taken away or learned that has helped with everything that you're doing now with the curling group?
Wow, that's a really great question, Malcolm, and thanks for having me on. I mean, I think really the biggest lesson that I've learned over, gosh, the 20 years or so, um, is really authenticity, I think. I try and be as candid and as honest and as blunt as possible. And at the same time, conversationally, and I think as you look at building brand, especially today, I think authenticity is so vital. There's so much noise out there. There's so many messages out there. And I think a consumer is hit with so many different things that being able to really resonate with a genuine message and a real story, I think lands. I think that consumers know when they're being really sold to. And I think that it's whether, I come from the gaming world before I jumped into curling, and I think trust, integrity, loyalty, those things are so important. And I think that transitions through to any brand that you're looking to build these days.
I agree, man. I love that point of view. Most people would say something like leadership or operationally, but I love that you kind of took that perspective. I think that's vitally important in this day and age. So definitely echo that. Um, at what point for you did you look at curling and think like there's an opportunity here and we need to build something that really brings in a global audience and really mass attention to this sport?
Well, Malcolm, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for pretty much my entire life. And, I think being a brand builder, one of the things that always got me was, you have perceptions about specific things, whether it's gaming product or whether it's sports. And when there's a stereotype that you perceive exists about something, and then if that stereotype is shattered right in front of your face, that to me screams opportunity. It always has. So, as an example with curling, I had this perception of what curling was. And I remember going to my very first curling event and realizing that it was completely wrong. And to me, that screamed opportunity because, I consider myself someone that stays up with things that are going on. I'm an avid sports fan. I read a lot, I watch a lot. And so I had this perception of curling, and I remember walking to my first curling event, and it was completely the opposite of what I thought. And to me, if you could quote unquote trick me, if I could be blinded by the reality, what that meant to me is that I think a lot of others also have a stereotype or had a stereotype or what curling is, and it just became a mission. One, it was an opportunity,
Yeah.
but then once I started to kind of peel back the onion and started to get to know, most importantly, these incredible elite athletes who curl, it became a mission. It became a mission to really highlight to the world how incredible the sport is, but most importantly, how incredibly engaging, marketable, and exciting the athletes that play the sport are. And so it was kind of a marriage of the two, breaking stereotype and then a mission to showcase something amazing.
Absolutely. And before we get too far down the road, can you kind of break down for the audience like what the curling group is and kind of the brands that sit underneath it?
Yeah, for sure. So the curling group was founded in the spring of 2024, after we acquired a property called the Grand Slam of Curling. So the Grand Slam of Curling is the biggest international event series in the world. There's 5 events each year, 6 days per event. It features literally the 16 best men's and women's curling teams in the world, which is ironic for today. It's actually better curling than the Olympics because it's not tied to one country per team per gender. And so we acquired the Grand Slam of Curling from Rogers Sportsnet, the biggest media
Yeah.
company in Canada, in the spring of 2024. And that became the foundational asset of what we call the curling group. Very quickly after that, we launched Rock Channel, which is our own OTT and fast channel platform. So we've effectively built the biggest media platform in the sport of curling as well. We also then partnered with Alt Sports Data and built the first true live data collection platform that obviously then tailors into a live odds algorithm API to funnel markets to sports books. Those three assets and the first three steps of our journey were all about the fourth step, which is the big one. In April 6th in Toronto, 2026, literally like 8 weeks from now, we're launching Rock League, which is the first professional curling league in the world. 6 teams, 5 men, 5 women, each team representing Asia, Europe, Canada, and the United States. So in theory, not in theory, the curling group owns four major properties: Grand Slam of Curling, Rock Channel, the data platform that kind of pumps the infrastructure behind all of it, and then Rock League, which launches April 6th in the great city of Toronto, Ontario.
I love it, man. That's amazing vision. And obviously this is you guys are building an entire new infrastructure for this sport. Like how important is educating consumers who are not familiar with curling about the rules, how the sport operates, et cetera, et cetera.
You know what, Malcolm? Curling has a massive global audience. The curling group was built and was founded on the idea that we want to bring in a new casual sports fan, a new fan to the sport of curling, because people right now, unfortunately, have only been able to engage with curling during the Olympic Games. But the reason why we're launching Rock League in April of 2026, the reason why we're launching a Series A to fund this entire mechanism and to put gas on the engine in it right now is because we have the greatest education tool for the casual sports fan going on right now. It's the Olympic Games.
Hmm.
The Olympic Games provides curling with an incredible foundation to jump off from. Everything that we've done has literally been predicated to this exact moment. I've said this a couple times before. Like a couple years ago, I said that we knew exactly when lightning is going to strike the clock tower, which is a reference to the movie Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Well, fact is, it's coming true. Lightning is striking the clock tower right now. As an example, 53% of all curling conversation happening right now via traditional and online media, 53% of that conversation is from the United States. The
Mm.
second biggest country where that conversation is being found and through social listening devices and things like that is Italy. So
Wow.
Canada, which is the country that most people think is curling, Canada is not even in the top two. The United States, where I would argue is one of the most important markets for curling to break through, which is the home of a lot of the big casual sports audiences, they're the ones who are starting to fall in love with the sport that a lot of the other parts of the world have already fallen in love with. So, to your point, education is vital. And the reason why we've done everything the way that we've done it um, in the timeline in which we've done it in, is to capitalize on this moment where the entire world is fixated not only on Olympic sport, but on curling, which is the most watched of the Winter Olympic sports.
Wow. That's incredible. Didn't know that, man. You learn something new every day, right?
Amen.
Um, you talked about the athletes and the storytelling, obviously, when we first started. What's the strategy around that? Because obviously, people fall in love with the athletes' stories, the trials and the tribulations, the things that they have to go through to reach the pinnacle. So how are you guys thinking about incorporating storytelling around the athletes and putting them at the forefront of the league?
Yeah, I mean, here's a good example. I mean, at the end of the day, the athletes are everything, and their stories are everything. Like I said, I fell in love with the sport not because of the sport. I think it's a great sport. I'm not a curler. I fell in love with the sport because of the athletes, because I got to know them, because I got to hear their stories. A lot of curlers, I would say a majority of elite curlers, have second jobs because there hasn't been a ton of revenue injected into this sport.
Hmm.
yet. And I mean, let's face it, these days, especially with athletes, they're starting to embrace social media and other content platforms to help get their story out. One of the very first thing that we did the day we took over the Grand Slam of curling, my co-founder and I had a private meeting with all of the elite curlers who play in the Grand Slam of curling. We had that meeting to introduce ourselves to them, to tell them our story, to tell them why we're so passionate and so excited about helping bring the sport of curling to the next level, about helping shine a light on them. Because our one of our primary goals is we want to build a star system around these incredible international elite male and female athletes who up until this point haven't been able to take advantage of the different star making sports that currently exist. And after we did that first summer, the summer of 2024, we put together our incredible team put together a brand and social media bible and playbook for them to help educate them on what they would need to do to help tell those stories, how to properly uh, articulate their personalities to the new younger sports fans that are living in worlds that, let's face it, didn't exist when we were young, right? Short form snackable content is becoming so vital. And a lot of these curlers are they're very engaging. They're very marketable. But what no one ever really took the time to do is to explain to them, hey, it's more than just the sport. It's the stories around the sport that are going to help blow things up. And eventually that will trickle down for you as more sponsors and more brands find curling. Those same brands and sponsors are going to look for great ambassadors and great other opportunities for you. So, the reality is we go back to that first question around authenticity, right? Sports fans want to fall in love with athletes. They want to fall in love with stories. They want to have that emotional connection to the people that they're watching on their screens or live in person. And so the technology and social has allowed these athletes to create that one-to-one relationship with
Yeah.
fans. And so ultimately that's what we've spent a lot of time doing is helping them understand how they can do that. And the great thing about what we've accomplished is we've garnered a level of trust with all of the greatest curlers around the world. We have the Grand Slam of curling. We have Rock League. 38 of the 60 Olympic athletes from Milan Cortina are in Rock League, which is premiering in the spring, as I said. We have the buy-in of all the world's best curlers, and they're coming along on this journey with us. Because I mean, I also say this all the time: a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah.
The bigger we can grow the sport, the more revenue there's going to be for the curlers, for the international associations, for the investors in the curling group. It all flows together. And the curlers are the tip of the spear because ultimately it's their stories, it's their personalities that we want the fans and the brands to fall in love with.
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. And obviously you mentioned you guys are looking to raise a Series A here. When you're talking to capital partners and potential investors, what do you try to sell them on and convince them that about this vision and what you guys are trying to build long term?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really great question, and I think it has evolved. I mean, we've raised 11, just over $11 million in seed, which is obviously leading into our Series A. I think one of the challenges that we faced, candidly, was people heard curling and they're like, "Oh, that's great." I watched that every 4 years. So I like it during the Olympics, right? It goes back to the lightning striking the clock tower. After we bought the Grand Slam of curling, which again is the best curling event series in the world, but it was owned by a Canadian media company that never distributed any of those rights outside of the country. So one of the very first things that we did was we launched our own fast and OTT platform to support international distribution, to make sure that curling fans all over the world could actually engage with it. We did a linear deal with an American broadcaster, which got more eyeballs, and that was great. So now the foundation of that growth is there. And now that the Olympic movement has come, so now some of those investors originally that kind of heard curling and saw it kind of niche hobby. Now they're starting to realize how big and explosive the popularity around this sport could be. But most importantly, the message for a lot of the kind of the private equity and family office and high net worth folks and bankers that we've been having, it's based around the fact that, listen, curling is an established sport, right? And it's an established team sport. There's a lot of your listeners will know a lot of the kind of the emerging and niche sports that are growing.
Yeah.
A lot of those sports are trying to create team sports out of individual sports. Hey, that's cool. Curling is already an established global team sport that's in the Olympics. We don't have to wait to get into the Olympics. Curling is also a mixed gender sport. So what Rock League is going to be is it's going to be the first mixed gender professional team sport. Each team has 5 men and 5 women on that team, and they're going to be playing together. If you were to stack rank the top 10 curlers on planet Earth right now, irregardless of gender, a a woman would be number one. It's a fair statement to say Rachel Homan is the greatest curler on planet Earth right now, alongside men. That's extraordinary. That's also extraordinarily unique in the world of sport. The other great thing about Rock League is um, it's world's best.
Hmm.
Grand Slam of Curling is also world's best. So we have two properties that don't compete with one another. They actually complement one another. So we're also building a property that does employ the world's best. The curling group also controls all of those properties. So there's no fragmentation around who owns what. There's a lot of other sports that are growing, and there's multiple professional bodies who are jockeying for position. Who's going to get what rights? Who's going to get which athletes? Well, we've effectively built a moat around the professional ecosystem of curling. We control all of it. And what we've also done is, we're learning, we're picking and choosing from what's worked in other sports and what hasn't. So, it takes certain emerging leagues and niche sports, a couple years to get to the point where they want to control their own first party data and they want to control their media distribution. Well, we spent the time and the energy to build our own OTT and FAST platform so we can control that content distribution and then also um, gain the benefit of having that first party data to make it more valuable, both from a brand and a sponsorship perspective, but also with us learning what our fans want and how best to market to those fans. So, not to mention the data, which is ultimately important as well. So, I think that we're not reinventing the wheel. We have the luxury of learning from a lot of these other sports properties and leagues that are starting to grow, and we're trying to really, combine all the best pieces with a sport that is having a moment right now. And our belief is, every 4 years, curling is the most watched Winter Olympic sport, and then the interest wanes because there's no way to stay engaged with
Yeah.
it. Well, guess what? Now, fans all around the world who have just fallen in love with curling are going to have an opportunity to stay engaged with Rock League in April.
Yeah. You talked about curling being an established international sport. Are you guys thinking about, or has it crossed your mind about how to like balance tradition in the modernization of this sport and growing it on a global scale? Is that something you kind of think about on a daily basis?
Oh man, I had to kind of leave Facebook because of that. A lot of the traditional curling fans, we've it, it's vital. It's vital for us to keep our traditional fans happy and excited about how we're growing the sport. It's vital. But there are specific changes and tweaks that we're making to it because we need to appeal to a younger audience. We need to bring in more of the casual fan. I mean, the great thing, Malcolm, for us is that curling already is a global sport. On Rock Channel, which is our content platform, our second biggest country audience wise is Japan. That's super exciting. The Japanese, the Korean, curling fans are massive, and in China, it's growing significantly. In our last Grand Slam of curling event, there were only two Canadian women's teams in that event. There were eight of the 16 teams were from Asia, or sorry, seven. I mean, that's pretty exciting. There are big curling fans all over the world. Now, as it relates to the traditional curling fan, you know, the I again. I look at what's happened in other sports. Look what happened in golf with waste management in the Phoenix Open. They injected a bunch of energy into that event, and they completely changed not only the perception of who goes to a golf event, but who the golf fan actually is. So we're trying to also inject that same level of energy into curling events. Because I got to tell you, the curling community, it's not going to be a big surprise to a lot of your listeners. Curlers like to drink beer after games. They go to bars, they drink beer with each other. I mean, shit, one of the main reasons why I'm here is after the very first curling event I went to, after the stereotype of who a curler was blown right in front of my eyes, I was at a bar across the street having a drink with a buddy, and it was the curlers that I just watched on the ice were in that same bar hanging out with each other and having a drink. And I was like, man, this is awesome. People don't know that. People watch a typical curling event and, sometimes it's very quiet and very tame. The Olympics is a completely different beast, man. The vibe and the energy in that building is amazing. And that's what we've been trying to do with the Grand Slam of curling. We're injecting energy. People are showing up now wearing banana costumes because there's a shot called a peel. And whenever there's a peel, 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 people are showing up wearing freezy costumes because there's a shot
That's
called a
great.
freeze, right? So it's like darts and golf because we're sports fans. We want to have fun. Sports fans are about emotion and passion and ultimately fun. So, to the traditional curling fans that are used to this kind of quiet, very, very kind of library esque environment, we're not taking away from the sport that they love to watch. It's still the same incredible athletes playing the same incredible sport. We're just wrapping it with a little bit more fun and energy because, when that 22-year-old who gets taken to a curling event by their uncle for the first time, they walk into an arena and it's dead silent. It's hard to keep that energy level up, right? If you don't know what's going on. But now they walk into a Grand Slam, a curling event, or they walk into Rock League, there's going to be music playing. There's going to be pomp and circumstance. Geez, Rock League, we're going to have a bar in a VIP area straight down the rink,
I
sheet
love it.
side seating. Like we want curling fans to embrace um, how we're trying to grow the sport without taking away from the sport they love. And that is a very fine line, like you say. But the thing that I say to a lot of traditional curling fans is if you love curling, if you really love curling, you also have to love the curlers who play the sport that you love. And the curlers are all in. They love what we're doing. They understand what we're doing. They love it. They love noise. They love music. They love energy. So all we're trying to do is wrap the sport around something that's a little bit more engaging, a little bit more appealing to brands, a little bit more exciting for new fans. Because ultimately, if that is successful, it's only going to make curling bigger, broader,
Yeah.
and more and kind of more everywhere.
I love it. I love it. Nick, this has been great, man. Last couple questions before we wrap up here. If you zoom out, let's say 5 to 10 years, what does success look like for the curling group?
Oh man, it's funny. That it's a very good question, and any I think a lot of startup founders who are in the grind of both raising money and launching a professional league in 8 weeks. I'm so laser focused on tomorrow that the idea of 5 to 10 years from now, like, man, like, I honestly haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that. I mean, the easy answer is, yeah, I want to see instead of 6 teams, I want to see 12 teams. I want to see, a 12-week schedule. I want to see curling on all linear, but, major streaming platforms. I want to see major brands. I want curlers to be household names and superstars, superstars. I want kids 5, 10 years from now, elite 12-year-old athletes who love curling. They got into it, they love curling, but they're also great at baseball. They're also great at football. I want them to want to stick with curling because there's a potential future to be a professional athlete.
Hmm.
Any young kid who's a great athlete will typically kind of focus their attention on a sport that could be professional at. It's chasing dreams. We've all done it, right? So when I look 5, 10 years down the road, that's the kind of macro kind of philosophical change I want to see within the world around how they perceive curling. But you know, from a specific perspective, man, all I'm focused on is tomorrow and making sure we push. we slide that rock a little bit further down the sheet, each day a little bit further.
Nick, man, this has been super insightful. I love what you guys are doing, man. Super incredible work. Wishing you nothing but success going forward. Where can people learn more about the curling group and tune into the leagues and all that stuff?
Yeah, well, first off, Malcolm, thank you so much for having me. Like, I'm a big listener. I've listened to you a ton, and I'm a big believer in what you're doing and shining a light on all of us, emerging sports and niche sports founders and tech and all of that.
Thank you, man.
Um, rockleague.com for Rock League, rockchannel.com is our media platform. We're all across socials, and honestly, what I would say is go to Instagram, man. Go to TikTok, find us, find the curlers. Like, the curlers are so incredible. They're incredible athletes. Like, shit's going viral literally right now about all the curlers in Cortina. I mean, yesterday, where I don't want to time date your pod, but yesterday was the gold medal mixed doubles game between the US Corey Dropkin and Corey Tisi, and Sweden Isabella and Rasmus Rana. Corey and Corey are blowing up everywhere. Bella Rana just shot 97% in the gold medal game, the greatest game of all time.
Wow.
She has become a star overnight because of her curling, but also because she's an incredible singer. Because we
Mhm.
do lots of fun events at curling events. So, like, you can find us, go Google curling, you'll find us. No, go find the curlers. That's what your audience should go and check out because they are electric and incredible.
100%, man. Like I said, you guys are changing the game and wishing you nothing but success going forward. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Malcolm.